Hello friends. Welcome back to the CiBillion. And today we will be continuing with our Good to Great series. And today we will discuss disciplined thought. And disciplined thought has two key concepts. The first one is Confront the Brutal Facts, and the second is Hedgehog concept. And today we will be talking about how to confront the brutal facts. Now, our story begins with two companies, and as usual, one company was bigger than the other. But then something happened and the bigger company failed miserably while the smaller company witnessed a good to great transformation. Now, how did this happen? This video will answer this question. But before we begin, we would like to tell you that this is a channel of the entrepreneurs, by the entrepreneurs, and for the entrepreneurs. And since we are aiming to be the number one entrepreneurship channel in India, please help us by subscribing and share our content with your friends and family to educate them further on the topic of business and entrepreneurship. Do follow us on Instagram. Our community of like-minded people is growing bigger day by day. And now back to our topic. Now there were two companies. The first one was A&P and the second was Kroger. Now both were retail grocery stores. You can think of Walmart as an example. Now we're talking about the mid 20th century. It was a time when two world wars just happened and a depression imposed frugality upon Americans. But then came the economic boom and prosperity where Americans changed. Now, America was witnessing an economic growth and they wanted nicer stores, bigger stores, and more choices in these stores. They wanted everything from fresh baked bread to flowers to healthy foods to cold medicines to fresh produce, 45 choices of cereal, and 10 types of milk. They also wanted offbeat items like 5 different types of expensive sprouts, various concoctions of protein powders, and magical healing herbs. In short, they no longer wanted grocery stores, they wanted superstores, mega stores offering almost everything and anything under one roof with lots of parking space, cheap prices, and a million checkout lines. Both Kroger and A&P were old companies. Kroger was 82 years old and A&P was 111 years old. Heading into the 1970s, both companies had nearly all their assets invested in traditional grocery stores, and both companies had enough knowledge of how the world around them was changing. Yet, only one of these two companies confronted the brutal facts of reality and completely changed its entire system in response, while the other stuck its head in the sand. In one series of events, A&P opened a new store called the Golden Key. Now, it was a completely separate brand as they wanted to experiment and test with new methods and models to learn more about what the customers wanted after the economic prosperity. It sold no A&P branded products. It gave the store managers more freedom. It experimented with innovative new departments and it began to evolve towards the modern superstore. And the customers really liked it and were happy with the response. Now, A&P began to discover the answer to all the questions of why they were losing market share and what they could do about it. So, what did the A&P executives do with the Golden Key? They didn't like the answers that it gave to them, so they closed it and they lived by the motto that you can't argue with 100 years of success. Then they began a pattern of lurching from one strategy to another, always looking for a single stroke solution to all their problems. They held rallies, launched programs, grabbed fads, fired CEOs, hired them back, and then fired them once again. They adopted a price strategy to build market share, but they never dealt with the basic brutal fact that customers now wanted better stores, not cheaper prices. The price cutting led to cost cutting, which led to even poorer stores and services. This in turn drove the customers away. Meanwhile, at Kroger, which was a completely different company, a completely different pattern emerged after they conducted similar experiments and tests in the 1960s to test the superstore concept. By 1970s, the Kroger executives team came to a conclusion that the old model of grocery store was going to become extinct in the near future. And unlike A&P, Kroger, however, confronted this brutal fact and accepted it and acted upon it in time. Now, they decided to eliminate, change, and replace each and every single store and depart from every single region that didn't fit into the new realities. The whole system was turned and transformed inside out, store by store, block by block, city by city, and finally state by state. After rebuilding the entire system on the new model, they became the number one grocery chain in America in 1999. From this story, we can say that nearly all companies had huge visions for themselves. But what differentiates the good to great companies from their comparison companies is that they confronted the brutal facts of reality and acted upon it in time. For a company to become great, they need a climate where the truth is always heard no matter what. And if truth isn't heard and acknowledged, very soon all the hopes will fade away by reality. So, how do you create a climate where the truth is heard? Well, there are 4 practices given by the author in this chapter. Now, the first thing is lead with questions, not answers. Some of the most successful leaders had the habit of asking questions whenever they were in doubt. This enabled them to dig deeper and find the facts which will be necessary to succeed. Asking the right questions not only help in understanding the current reality you live in, but also this leads to the best possible insights. Whenever you are in doubt, always ask questions to find more and more answers. The second practice is engage in dialogue and debate. Now, some of the very best companies in the world had a culture of engaging in debate and discussions. They always encouraged people to debate with each other until and unless they get to a conclusion. Things like loud debate, heated discussion, healthy conflict are a part of a culture of every good to great company. Now, the third one is conduct autopsies but without blame. Now, here the main part is without blame. So, many good to great companies failed miserably with many of their projects, and what did they do about them? They took full responsibility and didn't blame anyone. When you research about how and why you failed in a certain project without blaming anyone but yourself, you confront the brutal reality and hence become successful in the long term and in every other future project. Now, the fourth one is build red flag mechanisms. Now, we live in the information age, where information is available free of cost just at the click of the button to each and every one of us. Both comparison and good to great companies had ample information, but why only good to great companies succeeded? Because they built red flag mechanism which ensured to focus on the information that shouldn't be ignored. Think of red flag mechanisms as a way to give employees the power to point out something very important at any given moment of time without penalizing them in any way. You don't necessarily need this system if you are disciplined and have a great culture, but it can be very useful and helpful in some situations for you. Lastly, concluding this topic, any company can become a great company if they retain absolute faith in them, that they can and will prevail in the end regardless of the difficulties or adversities that they face in the current time. But at the same time, they should also confront the most brutal facts of their current reality, whatever they might be. A successful company became successful because they were resilient in the tough times and never gave hope, but at the same time, they knew that they need to understand the market need, they need to understand the customers, and they need to understand what they want. By understanding the market need in the present as well as in the future, they carved out a new path for themselves and did course correction immediately. So, this was the story of Confronting the Brutal Facts, which comes under the topic of disciplined thought in Good to Great. Now, it's a very good book. We recommend you to read it, and we will be back in the next video, which is Hedgehog Concept. Thank you for staying with us in the end, and we'll meet you in the next one.